This is your birth chart, also known as your spiritual blueprint. It's what you need to follow and what you naturally 9 times out of 10 would have been already following. It shows your strengths, it shows your blessings, it shows like things that may challenge you more so in this lifetime. In this birth chart, we have 10 planets. We also have 12 signs and 12 houses. The planets can represent certain people that show up in your life, but also it represents certain sides to you, like more on an internal level as well. And the planets, when they come through the signs, are the way that the energies plays out. And then the houses are showing where the energies played out, basically. Right. So we also have these inner aspects right here. And the blue lines represent more harmonious energy within sides to your personality and also people in your life. And the red lines are a bit like they represent like kind of struggle, tension, things of that nature and stuff. And then excuse me, we're gonna start. So we're gonna start with the sun sign over here, and then we're gonna go to the moon sign. I'll go from houses 1 all the way through 12, basically. Um and you said I could post this, right?
Yeah, I don't care.
All right, so when you were born, the sun was in Cancer. Cancer is a cardinal water sign, basically. It's the start of the summer solstice. Cardinal signs are basically the initiation. It represents like a beginning or a new season. And I would say that the sun in Cancer kind of gives you a quality of like nurturing abilities. It's about family. Of course, we know home matters. It's a very protective type of energy. The sun is your kind of like your soul and how you identify. It also represents ego and your father. So this would
You
be
said
like,
your ego and your father.
yeah, on an
Okay.
external level, the sun represents your father relationship and it tells about him. So, but on an external level, I would say, excuse me, on an internal level, it's like more of like the role you're playing and like kind of your energy you embody. So besides your sun being in Cancer, you have also your sun in the 12th house. This means that this will give you a Pisces kind of like a Cancer/Pisces soul. And Pisces is a sign that is more so about like it's a very sacrificial and giving type of energy, but it's also about like escape and retreat. The reason being, like, if we relate this to like medical astrology, Pisces rules over the lymphatic system, and the lymphatic system it kind of like soaks up toxins, and it's like the drainage system of the body. So metaphorically, what that's symbolizing is kind of how you are, where you're prone to kind of like sacrificing, giving, being the nurturer, the mother, and it's like you need to kind of like isolate, or you want to isolate and kind of be behind the scenes at certain times to kind of protect your energy. Pisces is a very boundless sign. So it's about establishing boundaries, basically. But you do, I don't know, because it's interesting because the Cancer energy is very protective too. I would definitely say that. Um, but so on an external level, the sun I told you it represents your father, so it shows that it could have been certain things in regards to your father where he was like isolated. So it's telling me with the sun in the 12th house, certain things about your father that you would have been kind of unclear on. Um, Certain things that you may have not known from him, and symbolically what this house can represent is isolated institutions. So prisons, monasteries, psych wards, hospitals can show up in this. Also distant places.
My pop's still
Yeah.
locked up in me. I've never had a real relationship. So yeah.
So that's what this house can represent. It can rule over prison. It doesn't have to play out that way, but that is one of the things that it represents. And this could be why there's certain things about your father dynamic that you may have not known, a bit unclear on. You also got Pisces on the ninth house, which is the same energy as well too. Let's go to the moon sign. Let's go to the moon sign. So the moon represents your mother. It represents your emotions, your feelings, things of that nature. Um, it's saying that your mom had a very like youthful type of energy when it coming through Gemini. Gemini is a sign of youth. Very communicative, expressive. Sometimes this energy can be a bit like chatty and stuff or gossipy. It's kind of the Gemini energy as well too. But her energy, I'm seeing it was kind of like deposited around her either network of community or groups of friends, things of that nature. But it's like she's someone who kind of was like in communication with these individuals, basically. I'm not sure she had a strong network of friends, but that is what the 11th house can represent as well. The moon represents you on an internal level and where you get emotional fulfillment from. So this again is also at the same time, just like your mom is coming through the house of friendships. You're someone who feels like kind of like communicating with your friendships to a certain degree or expressing yourself in this manner. Since Gemini is represents duality and in twins, it can show you growing up kind of in like having either two different homes or two different families that you could have had basically.
Mm-hmm.
I also am seeing that your mom, because I'm also looking at the fourth house, and this talks about your mother relationship. So this would give her like a certain level of like, she could be very attractive with Libra. Libra's the sign of beauty, also very diplomatic. Either has good energy or just kind of like peaceful to a certain degree. Now, you also have Pluto in the fourth house, so that kind of means that y'all would have had some type of power dynamics or power struggles to a certain degree too in your upbringing, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, being that that's the case, it could have been some things where you want to have also kind of like control over your home life and then your family matter, if that makes sense. Your family, how do I say it? Yeah, just like your home life, you want like kind of control and want to evolve in this manner and make changes in this area, which is what Pluto symbolizes. I also think too that your mother would have been someone who liked your home, like she would have wanted her home to be kind of like very attractive or beautiful, like to look good
Mm-hmm.
with Libra on the fourth house. Yeah, you could be the same way. I would say you're the same way. You like your home to be like, looking good and stuff. You also get emotional fulfillment through like relationships because Libra is a sign of relationships as well. And you like balance and harmony for emotional fulfillment. You like peace basically. So your mom's had a side too to where she was kind of like maybe a bit rebellious or aloof, distant at certain times, and kind of went against the grain, if that makes sense. Uh,
Towards what do you say? Just towards people or just period?
just period. Like with so the moon is making an aspect to Uranus, and usually that's about like um it's a rebellious type of energy going against the grain. It could be like disruptive and stuff. But it's in connection with your mother and even in your family dynamic. It could talk about like a sometimes like an unstableness in home family matters, and it may have stemmed from like your mother dynamic, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go to your ascendant sign. Your ascendant, you're a Cancer sun, but also your ascendant is in Cancer. So the ascendant sign is a sign that was on the eastern horizon when you were born, and it changes about every 2 hours. So this is the sign over here. So it makes you the ascendant sign is basically kind of like your point of view, how you see the world, how others see you. It also represents your physical body and um yeah, just how others perceive you when they first meet you. So again, it's more like caring energy. You're someone who very sensitive. You wear your heart on your sleeve, basically. You have a Cancer ascendant. Very supportive though, I would think as well. And let's see. Yeah, very supportive and stuff like that. Your sun is also conjunct your ascendant, but it's in the 12th house. So to me, even though you're a person who wants to kind of like again be behind the scenes or isolate, that can make you kind of like popular, basically. I would think it can make like popular or maybe like a lot of people know you. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
it's like a star type of energy as it rules over Leo and stuff. You have the South Node and you have Mercury in your first house. So Mercury is going to make you someone who's very youthful in terms of your appearance, communicative as well too, just like the Gemini energy as it rules over that. Um, Very expressive. You want to learn as well too. And you got the South Node here. So when you were growing up, were you someone who's kind of like pretty well known or pretty popular?
I say I was kind of popular in high school, but I'm, like I don't like all the attention. But
Mm.
yeah.
It makes sense because like so South Node is your comfort level. So you have these things called they're the nodes of the moon. South Node is like past life energy where you're more comfortable at, and North Node opposite that they look like horseshoes. It's kind of the energy you need to go towards embodying, but it kind of comes more. It's kind of more uncomfortable to us. So it's saying that you're more comfortable. Um, you could be kind of comfortable, kind of like doing your own thing,
Hmm.
which is what the first house represents. It is telling me a certain side to you the way you're comfortable, kind of like and like being like yourself being kind of like known or seen. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's saying like you have a certain level of comfortability with that. South Node and Leo can talk about being very popular, but it's saying you need to actually go towards the North Node of new relationships and kind of making progress in your relationships. But this is the area that feels a bit more uncomfortable to you. But that's one of the things that kind of like you incarnated here to kind of go towards and tapping into that energy basically. Because again, you're more comfortable doing your own thing. Now, let's see. So you have what's known as a chart ruler. Chart ruler is the sign, excuse me, the planet that rules over the sign of your ascendant. So this will show like a predominant theme around your life, basically. It shows like a focal point. So it's saying that your friendships, your community, your network at the same time it will be like a lot of like themes around this area.
Hmm.
And that makes sense. As this is what the 11th house symbolizes as well. Um, your let's go to your second house. So the second house you have Leo here in the second house. This is the house that talks about your values. It talks about your possessions, finances, security, and this could be like inner security, self-esteem, self-worth, or it could be like externally in terms of like your money, in terms of security. With Leo here, you're someone who, even though again you kind of do want to, you like to be behind the scenes. You're someone who has a side to you to where you value kind of like shining or like a certain level of attention, recognition, basically, if that makes sense.
Uh,
The, what happened?
I'm listening.
Yeah. So the second house, in terms of occupations, it could say how you could possibly make money. Leo rules over entertainment, acting, singing, dancing, painting, poetry, things of that nature. It rules over people of like high prominence, so like government officials, like I said, actors, politicians, but also Leo's a sign that deals with children, so it could talk about possibly making money through like any of these matters as well too. Um, you can use your sense of like creativity when you have Leo in the second house to generate money, to bring in money as well too. Um, that's what I would think.
What
And
about fashion?
say that again.
Is fashion, does fashion fall under that?
Fashion is like Libra energy and Venusian energy, but at the
Uh,
same time, it is like in a spotlight or being seen. You know what I mean? With fashion, it's a very creative type. It can be about like creativity and stuff. You know. Um, Let me see something. Fashion is what you still want to do, right?
yeah, I think.
Now, even though there's a side to you to where you may value, it's like you could want to be seen for your values or you value being kind of recognized. It's a side to you. The ruler of your second house is in the 12th house. So again, this is about you wanting to isolate at times, wanting to retreat. The 12th house in terms of topics, this is a Pisces house, like I stated. So Pisces can rule over. That's very interesting, actually. Pisces can rule over photography. Both of these signs deal with entertainment, just as an example. But Pisces is a very creative sign. It deals with spirituality, healing work, Navy affairs. Both house and Pisces energy could deal with like hospitals, like I was saying, prisons, monasteries, psych wards, any type of like healing work. I was just saying is can be possible ways to make money, or just like institutions that's kind of like away from other people. What this 12th house can show up as in terms of ways possibly of making money. And you say you're doing like administration stuff right now?
Project management.
Okay. Managing projects. I got you.
Yeah, I'm at a CPA firm.
Okay. CPA. Okay, got you.
So finances. So it actually is money management.
Got you. Okay. Um, let's go to the third house. Third house is your thinking, communication. It represents your relationship with your siblings, relatives, aunts, uncles, cousins, as an example. How you kind of move in your immediate neighborhood and early education, usually before high school. So in terms of your thinking, right? You're someone who very smart with Virgo here. You know how to kind of like see all the little details. Um, in terms of like just information, you could like know how to gather information and dissect what doesn't need to be there and stuff.
Mhm.
As this is what the Virgo energy rules over. So in medical astrology, Virgo rules over the digestive system. And the digestive system actually absorbs like food, deals with and it dissects what doesn't need to be there in terms of like nutrients, things of that nature. So, but I'm using that as like metaphorically in terms of what it could represent. Virgo energy is very picky, knows how to get to all of the little see through the details basically and extract what doesn't need to be there. So even like if we talked about like
Mhm.
siblings, if we talked about relatives, you have a side to you that could be kind of like very analytical and critical with these individuals. So you just have to be mindful of that. And you may find that you attract people like siblings, and particularly this house represents your first younger sibling, but she can have Virgo qualities or be very like critical. Even like she could be very work orientated, basically.
You said my youngest sibling
Yeah, your youngest sibling under you. That's your sister, right?
under me. My
Yeah.
youngest is a boy, but right under me, my next to the old, it would be the next to the oldest.
Okay, so yeah, excuse me, the one that's under you, if you said it's a
A girl. The one that's right under me is a girl, but the youngest
no, not the
is
youngest, the one that's under you in terms of age.
she's a girl.
Okay. So this would say that she have Virgo qualities too. She could be very critical, very detail orientated. Virgo's a sign of health too, so maybe she has endeavors about that. But I would think definitely just work orientated. Usually what Virgo represents. I was just saying earlier, be mindful of because you think in a very like critical, logical manner. So just be mindful of how you are with siblings or relatives. You know what I mean? Because you could kind of be that way, if that makes sense. You are someone though who does want to like self improve and work on your relationship with these individuals with Virgo here. Virgo's a sign of like self improvement and work. Is this the sibling that was kind of like close to you or not really? I mean, it's the one you had.
She didn't live in my household.
Okay.
We really weren't raised together, but we stayed together uh temporarily. It didn't work out.
Okay. What I find interesting is that you're someone who kind of like so whatever the things are that you believe in, you kind of like sacrifice that, meaning like you may not express these things openly. So it's saying that you kind of need to work on expressing yourself, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Even though you do have a side where you do feel like communicating, you can be expressive. When it comes to your beliefs, Pisces is like sacrificing. So it's saying that you sacrifice the things you believe in, if that makes sense. It could be expressing your beliefs. So it's saying opposite that, work on how you communicate. If we
Mm.
balancing out the signs on the houses in terms of polarities. I'll give you an example. Let's go back to the eighth house versus the second house. So eighth house is intimacy, right? And this could be platonic or just intimate on a sexual level, but it's saying that you kind of feel a bit more aloof and kind of like distant with people that you're intimate with. So it's saying that this is why second house of values, you value kind of like a certain level of like recognition being seen because you feel a bit more aloof with those that you're intimate with, if that makes sense.
Mm, okay.
Why you say it like that? You like
You say I feel like more distance from someone that I'm intimate with?
it's not necessarily a particular person, it's just saying in general, that's kind of the energy that's around the second.
Oh,
If that should
so
resonate.
maybe speak on current,
No, it's not
but
necessarily current.
overall.
Yeah, overall. Overall. So the houses and the signs are like mirrors. So we show up in these manners and we attract this type of energy, if that makes sense. But the houses they mirror each other. So I'm just saying that you can attract these energies, and this is why in the opposite area you kind of show up or feel another way in that section. You value a certain level of kind of like being seen. You value being seen or like self recognition because again, it's an aloof energy. It's a distant type of energy, if that makes sense. With those that you yeah intimate with on an intimate level. Doesn't have to be sexual though. By the way, I'm trying to think, is there anything else I want to say about Virgo in the third house? Oh, early education. So Virgo can rule over the medical field. It can rule over fitness, as an example. Said medical field, but health. And Virgo is a sign that deals with small pets and animals. So like you'll see some people who would have like wanted to learn about like being like a veterinarian, things of that nature. Anything dealing with small animals.
My degree is actually in healthcare administration, so health, I can see that.
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Hmm.
You need to be teaching me this shit. Teach me the game. Like you rolling your eyes. All right, let's go to the fourth house. Some of the stuff we already stated because we talked about what the fourth house represents in terms of your mother, your home life. I stated earlier that you want your home to be very attractive with Libra on the fourth house. Is Libra's the sign of beauty. I talked about how it relates to your mother, how she could have been someone who's very attractive too, or had a diplomatic manner to her. I'm trying to think, is there anything else I wanted to state? Let's move forward because we kind of pretty much mentioned everything with the fourth. Let's go to the fifth house. So the fifth house talks about it's your dating life. It talks about fun and pleasure. This is the house that deals with children, in particular. Your first child can be seen from this house. Um, what's so funny?
Where you said that.
Yeah, so this is the house of like entertainment as well too, and it's the house of like I compare this whatever the sun sign is, I compare it with the fifth house because all this deals with Leo energy and Leo is like self expression. So let's start with you. Matter of fact, in terms of how you self express, you come off as a Scorpio, meaning you have a side to you that's very like private, basically, um, very
That's,
private, like, huh?
I said that's true.
Yeah, Scorpio is a sign of like privacy, secrecy. So you have that side to you. You're also someone who can go through a lot of like change and evolution, even though you do have a side to you to where you kind of are more of a like Mars and Taurus makes you kind of act in a slower manner. Like you take your time, but it's a side to you that's is someone who's about like change and evolution, if that makes sense. With Scorpio in the fifth house. Now, your first child can also embody these qualities to where she can have this energy to where she's also someone who's going through a lot of change and kind of could be like private herself, kind of secretive at times too. Where's Mars at? It's showing that she's going to be someone who's focused on her career because of the ruler Mars of Scorpio is deposited in the 10th house of career. So it's saying that this is where her focal point would be career matters. 10th house can be like your status, your the outer world can represent. So this is saying that what she'll have a focal point on as well. But also like family matters. She'll be also be focused on family because Pluto also rules over Scorpio and is deposited into the fourth house of home and family. So these are showing where her energy is going to be focused around family and career. Oh, I meant to say this too. Fun and pleasure. Fun and pleasure, the ruler since it's in the fourth, it's saying that it's revolving around home and family for you. That brings you a certain level. That's what you like to do, is what the fourth house represents. Now, if we go back to dating, wherever I feel like you gotta kind of be you are a bit more private too, like in your dating life and stuff. And I don't know if you're secretive about dating, but
Like hiding the person that I date.
yeah, or just like normally I've seen wherever Scorpio's at is where we attract power struggles too. So like I'm not sure if you ever had any experiences with that stand out, or if you feel like that. But normally I've seen wherever Scorpio's at, we attract power struggles, so we more like private in this area, more secretive to protect ourselves. Because Scorpio is a protective sign. I did mean to say this too, that just like I said, Dior's energy, excuse me, Dior's energy could be focused on family matters and career. It's a side to you that to where that's like fun and pleasures, like family matters and career matters with these rulers deposited into these houses. Dating, you can attract Scorpio quality people as well. It could be like Scorpio suns, moon rising, or they just have like a lot of Scorpio placements as well. So sometimes maybe it may be people, same thing with kind of like private secretive and stuff. But um it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just kind of like it's just the energy there. It's not necessarily a bad thing. Um any thoughts so far?
Huh?
I say any thoughts so far? You mad quiet and stuff.
I'm listening.
Okay. Let's go to the sixth
As
house.
far
Six
as dating, I don't know if I've ever actually. I know I've never dated a Scorpio, so I don't know if someone I dated had a lot of Scorpio placements.
that makes sense. That makes okay. Have you found that the people that you dated, they've also kind of their focal point has been career,
Yeah,
work and stuff?
yeah, you can say that.
Okay. Because like again, it's symbolizing you, it's symbolizing people you date, and it's symbolizing your children. All of these are showing like the energy. I do find it interesting that I know your man, he's a Capricorn, and this house is the house of Capricorn, the 10th house, which deals with career, status, reputation, work, and fourth house again is home and family life, private world. I find that kind of interesting. Your sixth house is the house of work, service, health, represents your coworkers. You have Sagittarius here, so you're someone who wants to grow in your work environment. You want to grow,
Hmm.
expand in your work. This Sagittarius is a sign that represents the explorer of the zodiac. It's also a very wise type of energy, so it can show possibly in terms of like things that you do for work. It could be like traveling. You'll see like flight attendants, pilots with Sagittarius on the sixth house. You'll also see people who are theologians, who are into like religion, philosophy, education, teachers can fall under this energy. And I also will look at these planets here as they flavor the houses that can talk about like what you do for work. So with Uranus here, you require a certain level of like freedom, even amongst coworkers and like, excuse me, and your it can be what you do for work. Like you kind of want a certain level of freedom. You may find too that your coworkers are a bit like unpredictable too with
Mm.
with this with Uranus here as well too. So you got Saturn here. So Saturn, wherever Saturn's at, Saturn is like the planet that rules over like it's like an elderly energy, but it rules over like it tests and stuff. So it tests us wherever we're at. It's saying that we need to be authority in this area. You're someone who would have felt a bit more like challenged with kind of like your certain level of being like an authority or a responsible person in your work and in your daily routines and stuff. Even though you're very committed to this area, Saturn is going to give you more challenges. So it's kind of going to force you to be more committed to where you have to kind of step into an authoritative role, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah.
Now, one of the things it's saying is that you're someone who's working towards being responsible in your work, but it's saying that you feel a bit of an obstacle because you also believe in kind of like taking care of things in isolation and behind the scenes, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I believe in vacationing and taking time off. I
Yeah,
believe in balance.
yeah. So so how I'm getting that is because I'm looking at keywords. So and I'm looking at the aspects. So for instance, the sun is you, Jupiter is kind of like your beliefs.
Hmm.
Cancer is like caring for things, nurturing things, and again, 12th house is kind of like in isolation, and it's saying that this is an obstacle with the opposition. it's an obstacle with you kind of like committing or being like responsible in your work, basically. So it's like finding a certain level of balance between these areas of life, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that may have something to do with my desire to want to work from home because it's definitely back. That's behind the scenes.
Desire to work from home.
Hmm.
I think you definitely could do that. I think it would make sense too, just for like your energy and just in general, you know.
Mm.
Let me see. I'm trying to think. We said coworkers. We said work environment. We said what was the rule of Jupiter is in your 12th house? Yeah, that is showing. Yeah, that's interesting. You definitely could work for yourself. You just gotta hustle. You just gotta go hard. You know what I mean? But you definitely could work for yourself.
Okay, don't tell me that. But
That
honestly, my job while I work at it's a CPA firm, so we have like so many small businesses, and like I was telling T, like, it's definitely motivation to be an entrepreneur. Because if all these people can do it, then I definitely can do it.
yeah. Why not? Why not? Um, do you find that you tend to work like in isolation from others?
Well, I mean, in the workspace, I know just to say in my current job, a lot of people eat lunch. They be wanting me to eat lunch. No, I be wanting to be by myself. My
Okay.
office, I don't close my door because I want a welcoming welcoming environment. But at the same time, I prefer to do, work by myself or be in my own space.
Okay. Okay. Let's go to the seventh house. Seventh house is the house of partnerships, one-on-one relationships. This could be marriage or business. I do
Hmm.
find it interesting that you're coming off as the Cancer in terms of your energy, and then the house of relationships, you have Capricorn there. It's the house of the first marriage too. You got
Mm.
Capricorn. I find that kind of interesting. So it's saying that you can attract Capricorn type of people in your partnerships. You're actually someone who, though you're the mother in terms of your energy, very nurturing, caring. You're someone who in your relationships you're very responsible and reliable and stuff. You can come off as an authority figure, and since Cancer is kind of like more of an emotional type of energy, people in your relationships can help you be more like practical, basically, and maybe less emotional, if that makes sense. Or you can attract individuals like that. But it's a balancing act, basically, with these two types of signs. You also can attract older people because Capricorn, older or more mature people. Capricorn is it's like an elderly energy, responsible
Mm.
and mature energy. That makes sense. Got the ruler of your seventh house and your sixth house. So people that it's either saying one or two things. The people that you attract and are in relationships with can either be focused on their work, or possibly sixth house can deal with health too, or it's saying that you may date people who are like your coworkers. It could be like maybe one or two of these things.
Like date a coworker.
Yeah, or like it's just possibly. You know what I mean? That's what it's showing when I'm looking at the rulers.
Your dad, he was a coworker, but I never do that again.
They say don't mix business with pleasure. Right?
Huh?
I say, they say don't mix business with pleasure.
Right. Um,
So eighth house is basically like intimacy. I was saying earlier, it's intimacy. It's shared resources. It's the house of sex, death, transformation. Um, if we want to talk about your intimate life, I told you you have a side to you that's very like you come off as the humanitarian. Aquarius rules over the humanitarian basically. But I was telling you it's a side so where you could be a bit like aloof or distant or feel that way with those that you're intimate with and stuff. This house deals with sexuality. So when it comes to like you in the bed, I compare the Mars sign in the eighth house. Eighth house can talk about you wanting a certain level of freedom. Basically, you could be kind of like independent, kind of to a certain degree in this matter. But then Taurus here, Mars and Taurus, you take a slower approach. Even like it could be like to having sex. You want more of a stable and comfortable energy in terms of like those that you're having sex with. You don't want it to be out here just wilding usually. Normally,
that's
hmm?
that's true.
Yeah. Normally air signs, like air on the eighth house or people with Mars and Venus and with air signs like Aquarius or Gemini, they could be more prone to like bisexual relationships, open relationships. Aquarius is a sign of homosexuality, so I'm not saying you into that, but I'm just saying usually like if you had a lot of air in these areas, it could talk about that. But you have Taurus is more like grounding and more like stable energy. If you have like say like water, either in your Mars sign or on your eighth house, this is more
Mhm.
like emotional connection, basically, more like deeper connection. So, but the air signs are kind of more out there. You know what I mean? They more detached, more
So
they're
I
more.
have air sign.
You do. So that's why I'm saying you want freedom. You want a certain level of like even in the people that you're intimate with, you like
Mhm.
people who are very different. Because Aquarius is a very different energy. You like people who are very different, not like everybody else, basically.
Yeah, that's true.
If there's 10 guys and 9 of them are rappers, you want the scientist as an example. You want the person who's not gonna be like everybody else. You may find I was saying that you attract on a more intimate level Aquariuses, or people have Aquarius sun, moon, or risings, or stellium in Aquarius, meaning a lot of planets in that energy. I mean in that sign. And what else I was gonna say? You're you're the type of person who so I mean this makes sense, but like sharing. So Aquarius is a sign that represents friendships, your community. So you, since the house of shared resources, you know you want to share resources with your friendships. I would think with those individuals. Um,
Oh yeah.
say that again.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Let's go to your ninth house. Ninth house is beliefs. It's your father. It represents in-laws. It represents it represents education and long distance travels. So I was telling you earlier that you kind of are someone who, when it comes to the things you believe in, you may sacrifice or not be as expressive. You and also too, it could show like whatever it is that your beliefs or how you identify, whether it be religion, beliefs, spirituality, you may not openly express these things. You may more like want to merge with others, even if your beliefs are kind of different, if that makes sense. I have seen individuals with Pisces on the ninth that they could give a lot to like long distance journeys and traveling a lot. They might want to sacrifice a lot and handle that, like going long distance travels. Not sure how that plays out for you, but
You
um,
said going long distance travels or
yeah,
like enjoy traveling?
yeah, enjoying traveling, wanting to give to this area of life.
Oh yeah, I enjoy traveling.
Yeah. Also, this can be education too. Ninth house is education or just again spirituality. Um, you could talk about like giving to this area of your life and sacrificing in this area. Now, if say for instance you are the type of person who does want to travel a lot, then it's saying that you need to kind of work on again your relationship with your relatives and even in your neighborhood. Because again, if you're traveling, then it's saying opposite of that, work on this area of life, if that makes sense.
In my neighborhood, what you mean by that? Neighbors?
Yeah, third house is your neighborhood, your neighbors, and relatives. So I was
Okay.
saying if you're someone who's traveling, which is what the ninth house can represent, long distance journeys, then it's saying get back to working on like to find balance, get back to working on these other areas, which we just stated. Aries on the 10th house, you move more independent in your career. You're someone
Mhm.
who wants to be the head of your career, which is what Aries represents in astrology, the head. As you're someone who wants to rise in your career, you may find that higher ups, whether it be bosses, supervisors, authority figures of any sort, or elders, you may find that it's more like conflict, so you move more independently with them as well too. Aries is the sign that deals with like the constellation that deals with warfare. So if you're like fighting to kind of like rise in your career, which we see Mars shows your desire. So it's saying that it's in the 10th house, it's saying that you desire to be comfortable and stable in your career and have like a certain level of like status. If you're finding that again, it is some conflicts that you attract from people that are higher ups, whether it be in the same field as you. It's saying that in your fourth house, you need to make sure that you're having like peace and balance in home matters, or go to your home for peace and balance. Because 10th house can symbolize like again the outer world, career, if that makes sense. I do feel like you're someone who's supposed to be kind of like really like a leader and kind of the head of you're in whatever field that you work in, you're someone who's supposed to be like have a certain level of like higher up position, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay.
That, but the thing I was just saying is that you have to work really on being practical, being organized, and just tap into that energy because again, you kind of move more slower, if that makes sense. With
I procrastinate. I'm slow to get started, so that's true.
yeah. Now the good thing though is that Mars and Taurus, because so Mars is about action. Taurus is a sign that it actually is in detriment and meaning that it doesn't work the best here. So it's saying you want a certain level of comfortability, but you take your time. But the good thing about Taurus is once Taurus gets going, Taurus can be more persistent and persevering. Like you can once you actually finally find out what you want to do, you can outwork people and stay more like diligent and more patient and more persistent than others, basically. But the biggest thing is just about starting for you.
Oh, yeah, that is true. I'm
Yeah.
the turtle race.
Hmm?
I said I'm the turtle in the race.
Yeah, but the turtle wins the race.
I know, so that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so and Mars in the 10th house does make for a good like manager, good manager. Like I said, people that are higher up from you, it could be more of an independent relationship with like supervisors, bosses, things of that nature. The 11th house is your I was saying your friendships, goals, aspirations. Um, you have Taurus here on your 11th house. So actually you're the solid one when it comes to your friends. You know what I mean? You're very solid, you're very reliable, stable.
Mm-hmm.
And this is also what you would want and stuff. You're very committed towards your friendships. We need people like you, you know what I mean? We need we need people like you. I do see though that the ruler of your 11th house is deposited into the 12th house. So this means that your friendships again are you will find that you attract people who are kind of like distant at times.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, you attract people who are distant at times. Um,
I've had like friends that'll talk that just like a disappear for no reason and then come back.
yeah, that's the energy. And it kind of could be frustrating because again, you're the solid one. You coming off as a Taurus, very stable.
Yeah,
Um,
I've decided like some friends. I've had a couple friends that do this several times. So now at this point, it's like when they come back, it's up to me to decide if I'm gonna accept them.
exactly. Yep. Your moon in the 11th house gives you a nurturing quality to you. Um, when we think about the moon is constantly waning and waxing, and what that means is the moon it goes through fluctuations. It illuminates and it darkens. In terms of the phases of the moon, waxing is whenever it's increasing in light. Waning or waning is when it's disseminating in terms of the light. So metaphorically, whatever house the moon is in shows where we can have like fluctuations, ups and downs. And so it's saying that in your friendships, though you go to emotional fulfillment, though you're very nurturing to your friends, there can be like ups and downs in this area of life, basically. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree.
So just keep that in mind. Since this is since 11th house also deals with your hopes and wishes, your goals, aspirations, it's something around your finances. It's some goals that you have around finances and again, stability, security, same thing that you want for yourself.
So am I gonna reach those goals?
Yeah, but again, you just have to make sure you're taking action. That's the biggest thing with Mars and Taurus. You have to make sure that you're being strategic, writing things down, following through. All my Mars and Taurus friends, I had to tell y'all like make sure that you are following through. Because all of all of Mars and Taurus people I don't like to procrastinate.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm sorry, I didn't cut you off.
Go ahead.
I find interesting that 50 Cent, the rapper 50 Cent, his Mars is in Taurus too. And when I think of him, I think of someone who's very ambitious. Like a
So
nigga,
did you start out that way?
I'm not sure. But I know that with this energy, usually Mars and Taurus take their time. But again, once y'all get going and y'all know what y'all want, I know y'all can outlast other people. Y'all can be more
Mm.
consistent than other people. So for you, I think the biggest thing is just finding out what you want and that you love to do. and just get going. 12th house. 12th house is the last house. This talks about your dreams. This talks about the subconscious mind, past life energy, again, what you do behind the scenes. Sometimes it's interesting because you are a person who can be, you have a side to you that can be vocal, but sometimes I think you suppress your you suppress like your thoughts and how you communicate, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's hard for me to keep how I'm feeling in though, honestly.
That makes sense. The moon coming through Gemini is a sign of expressing, but I think you still have a side to where you may suppress that at times. That's pretty much it. You know what I mean? Like that's pretty much it. I mean,
Okay.
so what you think about any like what you think?
I was gonna say, seem like you get better. I wanted to ask you though, like why have some of my houses? I mean, I see the lines in the middle. I guess those were the ascendants and descendants that you were talking about. But why some of my houses don't have nothing in them? But I know you said you look at the opposite house, I guess,
Mhm. I
to
mean,
find a balance. But why some of the houses have nothing in them?
that's just up with the planets were positioned when you were born. Like you don't have to have a planet in a house, but it doesn't mean that it's not gonna nothing's gonna happen there because you still have the signs which show energy there. But the planets and houses they flavor the houses. So I still would look towards wherever you have planets at. I would look
Mm.
towards the sign that's on the cusp, and I would still look secondly at the planets there to tell more to the story. But
Okay.
it's not that you necessarily need it there. Like I have in my chart, I got certain houses that don't have planets in it. So, but I still it doesn't mean that nothing's gonna not happen there because I still have the signs there.
Okay. It sounds like you've really been studying and you going into further into detail. So just stay, stay on the stay the course.